So hi, I'm Alpesh Doshi. I just introduced myself. I'm chairing the panel today. My background's in fintech. I've been working in fintech for over 20 years. It wasn't called fintech when I started working in it. I'm a technologist by background and work around impact and sustainability and ESG data. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting conversation. Hassan, go ahead.
Hi guys, my name's Hassan. I'm the founder and CEO of MoneeMint. So at MoneeMint, we're building a digital, Islamic, and ethical neobank. One of the first to be in the UK. We're focusing on sort of two main elements of the markets. We're focusing on the Islamic and the Sharia market, and we're also following. We're also addressing the ethical conscious market, and obviously with people nowadays being more ethically aware about what businesses are doing, where they're investing, do they really care about the environment? We're now in that space and providing sort of banking services. So we're hopefully looking to go live really soon. So stay tuned for that. So if you haven't already signed up to our waitlist, visit our website and sign up to our waitlist.
Yeah, the logo thing is not working that well at the back, by the way. Can't see it very well.
That out. Don't worry, we'll fix that later.
So, hello, Aisha.
So guys, as we go along, if you do have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself,
yeah,
or you can ask us in the chat, and we, myself, Alpesh, and Omar will answer soon. So Alpesh, if you want to kick off.
Yeah, so if you want to ask a question, there's a Q&A button on the top. Please ask a question any point in time during the session, and we'll start. So, I mean, I guess the first thing for me would be really actually understanding what is an ethical bank. The challenge really is for me is how do you define an ethical bank? Are there standardized ways of defining that? Hassan.
So in a nutshell, so when we talk about ethical banking, we talk about the pretty basics of being open, being transparent, not investing in industries that are related to sort of gambling, tobacco, weaponry, caring about the environment, the sustainable, the SDG goals, but also when we talk about ethical, we've actually outlined internally at MoneeMint what ethical really means to us. And we've broken that down into 6 different pieces. So, when we're talking about that, we talk about the environment, we talk about our people, we talk about our customers, our products, our suppliers as well. So we really care about sort of what it is. But now, again, the question really comes down to what does ethical mean to you as a consumer? For example, I don't drink, and I think that's not, it's not ethical. But for somebody who may drink, may think that's ethical for them. So it's really creating that balance. But in overall, nowadays, obviously, with the younger millennials and the younger generation, we really do care about what businesses are doing. Are they really ethical? Do they care about the environment? Do they care about their suppliers, their workforce? So that's what really ethical means to us at MoneeMint. And coming down to banking, obviously that means we're not investing anything. We're really transparent with our fees. We care about our customers. We have our customers' best interest at heart whatever we're doing. And we're proud to say that we've internally we've really thought about our customer process, making sure that we're really working for our customers and not against our customers. And that's what typically banks are doing. But for a bank, you're just basically an account number and a sort code. But actually, we're taking that to a different level. We're really understanding who our customers are and providing the services to them. We also have Omar, who's just joined us. So hi, Omar.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. How are you? How's everything?
Hi,
apologies.
Yeah, we were just started. Yeah, no worries. We were just starting about. You didn't miss anything really, but we were just starting about defining ethical banking. And so I'd love to get your perspective and what you think. How would you define ethical banking, given that there isn't a normalized way of defining
it? Absolutely. Given my experience in the past couple of years, especially around Islamic banking and the word being definitely discussed in a lot of forums and a lot of webinars, a lot of international events, is mostly the definition is how would you basically define the difference between Islamic and conventional banking. And then I would basically respond and say ethical banking. But then they would say, what do you mean by ethical banking? Does it mean that your treasury departments basically do not invest in things such as alcohol or gambling institutions, etc., and so forth, to basically create returns on your deposits, etc., and so forth? Or do you mean transparency of your banking? I, as a customer, would want to basically invest in a bank that tells me exactly what they're going to do with my money. And by not only just that, but at the same time, if I want to do a process, or if I want to go through any financial product, I know what I have to do, what I'm going to pay on that. I have a complete transparency. Even if it's a 30-year mortgage that I basically take, I know exactly how much I'll be paying for those 30 years, etc., and so forth. So the idea basically is to empower me as the customer to understand that if I basically avail a financial service as well, what am I availing, how will I be availing it, and how will it be basically used from now till as long as I bank with that institution. So in my opinion, that's what I would think that ethical banking, one of the things about ethical banking would basically be.
One thing I'd also add to this around what ethical banking is the sort of new topic around impact. So, if you're looking at impact and sustainability and ESG, every bank that I know is trying to figure this stuff out. It's now become a pretty large topic as well. I would add that in as part of the impact. So part of what an ethical bank should be. So, if you let's say we have a broad understanding collectively as what an ethical bank is, how do you frankly design products and services that customers would want? And how do you deliver those, and how do you communicate those?
Sure. So let me kick off on that one. So when we look at the products and services that we want to offer to our customers, we don't offer every single product and service, or we don't work with every single supplier vendor that's in the market. We're really, really selectful in who we in who we choose. So, for example, so some of our key strategic partners, such as Codebase, we've really thought about what they believe as an organization. Do they really follow our vision, mission, purpose, values, and do they care about their customers? Number one, do they care about the environment, what impact they're having on the environment, on their supply chain, and on their people as well. And that's one of the key things that we do. And myself and our senior management team, we've really, really thought about who we're working with, and why. And we've got some really good names in the market, in our marketplace, who we're working with, from remittance partners to sort of open banking. And all of these vendors have, we've been really, really careful with making sure that they understand what we as a business are, what we believe in, and can they follow that, and sort of do they believe in that as well. And I'm sure Omar can add some more insight into this, into why sort of Codebase decided to work with us, and hence why our strong relationship over the last few years.
Absolutely. One of the key reasons we saw was the vision that MoneeMint basically initially wanted to bring in a institution that made an impact as well. We also basically carefully wanted to assess that in the next 10 years or 20 years, or however long we do work together with MoneeMint as well, what is the kind of impact can we bring into not only just an industry, but from a regional perspective as well. Being said that, MoneeMint probably, if you even still basically look at it, is the only digital ethical bank that has decided to challenge not only the regions of Europe, but UK, etc., and so forth as well. And to date, nobody has basically come across with a proposition that is ethical, in the sense that providing your customers with a value that challenges the not challenges actually, but basically addresses that demand. There's a lot of products. I mean, if Hassan, if you remember back in the day, we were basically discussing a lot of strategies around products of what can we basically bring in that has basically been very impactful in the industry where Islamic banks have been thriving, and how can we basically replicate them in a more digital manner for for a demographic that is such as Europe or UK, etc., and so forth. And one of those basically being was that how can I introduce something very similar to what you call a price link account, whereby customers can basically input their cash, and rather than basically go through what usually would happen in those regions where people would buy lottery tickets, etc., and so forth. This is basically saying that why don't you input your money, and we create a prize pool, and if you basically uh, get like something like a pot, if you meet that requirement, then you can be entitled to win this. But if you do not, you still have a savings account and you have made savings on top of that as well. So it's like a win-win sort of scenario as well. So that's one of the things we wanted to bring in. One of the other things we wanted to also say that MoneeMint was the only platform at the time that was basically proposing to tackle something like this, whereas a lot of institutions were actually very happy with what their current setup was. So we wanted to work together and make a collective impact. And Alhamdulillah, inshallah, we do plan to once we go live with this to see that impact happen.
And I think one of the key, I just want to add on to that, is one of the key things that we've worked closely with Omar and his team is obviously the customer experience, and that, I mean, from changing the language to the mobile application to streamlining our onboarding process. We've really thought about that, and I know my senior management team can vouch for this. We spent hours and hours doing this. And I know the code based team sort of got frustrated with us with all the changes, but and I think it's really important, because what we don't want to be the next Barclays or the next HSBC or the next Monzo and Starling. We really want to understand what it is that our customers are looking for. How can we be impactful to them? Can we offer them a product and service that is going to wow them? And I think that's where we're really heavily focused on a day-to-day operational basis, where we're actually thinking about, this is the product we're bringing into the market. This is what we want to do, and this is how we're going to attract our customers. And we've seen that happen through the attraction that we've got. We've got over 23,000 plus signups to our waitlist, and that's been done through sort of organic marketing. We've not done any paid campaigns or anything like that. So there is a demand there, and I think no one's tackling it. We did, there are a few Islamic fintechs that are trying to tackle it, and they haven't succeeded in that. So that gives us a cutting edge opportunity to really sort of take that market share and offer our Islamic banking or ethical banking products and services in the UK.
And so, tell me a bit about the frameworks that you've used around defining the products and service you're offering and how you make that transparent.
Sure. So one of the things that we've done is, obviously, I went through the Islamic banking journey here in the UK with one of the Islamic banks. I won't name anyone, but I went through that journey, and I sort of understood the pain points that was there when applying for a mortgage and also opening up a current account with them. And one of the questions that I asked was a question that came internally for me was, okay, hang on a second, why is it that I have to pay a premium for a faith-based product where I can get a mortgage from my local HSBC bank and I can open up an account straight away, without any problems? So that was a journey that MoneeMint sort of came alive. And one of the things that we want to do is and the question was, there's nothing that's available for the Islamic market or the ethical market. And what's the reason behind that? Why can't a big Islamic bank offer mobile banking experience to their customers? And obviously, after numerous meetings and stuff, we had sort of understood it's obviously the legacy systems that they have in place and the operational processes that they have in place. And it makes it really difficult for them to change that. So we said, why don't we create the next Monzo, but an Islamic version of it? And then that's where we said, okay, we're not going to, any customer funds will not have any interest on it. We're not dealing with any industries that are investing in gambling, tobacco, weaponry. And that was one of the things that we also made sure all of our strategic partners were following. And anything that we were doing is obviously impactful. For example, what we're doing now is anyone that signs up to a wait list, we plant a tree on their behalf. And that's just something small, giving back to the community. Giving back to the environment. And we're also doing a lot of stuff for the community as well. For the Pakistani floods, we're raising some money for that. And it's these small things that create that sort of ethical vision that we have. And I think over the next few years, when we launch and when we really sort of talk about ethical more in the community and the environment, and there is a lot more stuff that we can do alongside our partners. So yeah, I mean, we're really selectful in the products. I mean, for example, mortgage. Do we really need to offer a mortgage to our customers? There are other alternatives that are ethical and also Sharia compliant. So we're not looking at the traditional banking products. Where if there is any creative ways of offering our products and services, we are looking at that as an option.
The challenge is that given the change around impact and sustainability, there's another whole new area around ethical and responsible banking, which is the whole sustainability stuff and saving the planet. How much thought have you given so far into that part of the responsible and ethical banking area? It's we know if you may have heard of the phrase greenwashing. What I see at the moment, there's a lot of greenwashing going on around companies declaring that their products are sustainable and friendly. And if you talk about banks and asset managers who are declaring their funds are ESG compliant and whatever, the reality is that it's really, really hard to show that. So, if you let's take impact as a topic, what's your perspectives on impact and what that would mean? Impact meaning trying to get to net zero, reducing emissions and reducing carbon emissions in a company, and how you guys will deal with that.
So internally, what we're doing is obviously from an internal perspective. Obviously, we're all remote working. I mean, we are a small team, so I mean, creating that impact in terms of the environment and net carbon zero. That's we're not creating any of that anyways. I hope my senior management team, they care about the environment too. But what we are doing is, we're really focusing on what we as a business can do both externally and internally to sort of be sustainable and be impactful. So for example, planting a tree for every sign up that we get, it's something that we're giving back to the environment because of everything that's going on. Raising the funds for the Pakistani floods, the worst floods in history. We're doing that to give back to our communities, but also anything that we do from we all work remotely. There's no sort of printing and stuff like that we do. So it is these small things that we are doing, and obviously as operations scale, as our team grows, then obviously there's more things that will happen. But from a consumer perspective, and being sort of that, now the FCA have published some new regulations on duty of customer care, which is obviously we're really focused on that, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to offer, let's say, lending product to our customers when they cannot afford it, and that's where it comes down to sort of that understanding who your customer is and actually offering that really the product that they really need rather than something that they don't need. And I think with all the banks right now and all financial institutions right now, it's all a big talk about sustainability and impact, and we're doing this, we're doing that, but actually if you talk to the bankers, nothing is really happening. And I think it's an industry wide. It's not just a financial industry. I think it's just business as a whole. Everyone's talking about it. I think it's more of a marketing gimmick for these companies, for the big companies, because it's hard for them to change their operations really quickly. Whereas for someone like us, at MoneeMint, we're small, and we can adapt and make changes as and when necessary. But also, provide that impact and obviously, measure the impact that we're providing. And I'm sure, Omar and his team at Codebase follow the same sort of things that we do. Yeah.
Absolutely. From that perspective, one of the things I wanted to basically add is, but from a Codebase perspective as well, we are part of the MENA FinTech Association, whereby we are working with neobanks, banks, and fintechs, and educating them on how to basically build and create sustainable propositions as well, especially around the financial industry sector as well, how to basically use technology to reduce carbon footprint, how to use technology to create propositions that improve your footprint on the planet as well going forward, etc. and so forth. So just to basically add that we do take this very seriously, and especially when we are proposing our propositions for new projects or new initiatives, etc. and so forth, we do keep that in mind as well when going forward. Sorry, Alpesh, you were saying something.
Yeah, no. I was just, I think the challenge that I see is that there's still confusion around impact and sustainability. You know, that's what I see. It's fairly confusing around what it means. Younger people, and I'm sure the people on the MoneeMint waiting list who want a card. I think, you know, you can imagine most of them are fairly young and they want to have it, want to be sustainable, want to be able to have their account in a service that does that. So, you know, if we go into a bit more detail, I think this ethical banking thing is still confusing for me. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe you can give an example of how you're thinking about developing a product or a service that you want to offer, and the process by which you're doing that. So yes, you get the core banking, you get your card, you get the payment pieces, but over and above that, you know, how are you thinking about the product roadmap of what kind of products and services you want to offer to the customers?
Sure. So let's take an example of a traditional product. Let's use mortgage as an example. So typically, you know, a mortgage, you get a mortgage, you pay interest rates on that, and you know, it's typically how a mortgage works. Now, if you look at, I think let me just go one step backwards. Let me just talk about sort of Islamic banking and ethical banking and sort of how they work hand in hand together. So Islamic banking is obviously, you know, no interest rate, transparency, not dealing with any industries that are prohibited in Islam. And then ethical banking follows the same route. So when we talk about ethical banking, you know, we're pretty much talking about Islamic banking, but it's just a name thing. You know, ethical banking is still the same thing. You know, we're not dealing with industries that are prohibited and you know, where you know, there's no interest rates, for example. So now let's look at a typical mortgage product in a conventional system. So it's, you know, you obviously apply for a mortgage, you get the mortgage, there's an interest rate onto that, and then you know, the cycle continues. So now an Islamic mortgage or an ethical mortgage would be, okay, so I as a bank would then purchase the product or would purchase a property upright. The customer will then put a deposit down, and then they will pay rental payments, which will then give them equity as they grow, as they pay in. Now, what happens if a customer defaults? So if a customer defaults, the bank will then sell the property. And whatever value that the customer paid up until that point, that customer will get that money back, and anything else on top of it is profit for the bank. That's what an ethical product is. Now, in the Islamic market, there are many more alternatives to a mortgage. There's property crowdfunding, which is now really picking up in the UK. And the problem with an ethical mortgages, an Islamic mortgage, is that banks are not willing to, Islamic banks are not willing to give a mortgage out to the everyday consumer. And that is a challenge that I faced and I went through. Alpesh, if you remember, I was when I was working with you, I was going through that process. So you know, we obviously, and the reason behind that is because of the risk appetite involved. So there are alternative ways to offer a conventional product and put a twist on, an Islamic product and put a twist onto that to make it more affordable to the consumer, but also you know, make sure that it is ethical. So that's how we sort of define our product roadmap, and to say, okay, if this is a product, this is how it works in a conventional system. How can it work in an Islamic or an ethical system? If it cannot, is there another alternative way that we can offer that product? For example, we were talking to a pension provider here in the UK who was doing a Sharia compliant or an ethical pension fund. Now, the reason why they don't market to openly is because, I mean, sorry, they only have, I think it was 12% assets under management in that. And the reason why it's such a low number is because they don't have a partner, or there's not enough marketing done for that. So people don't know, you know, what ethical products are available for them in the market. And I think that's where a platform like MoneeMint really comes in and offers that product and service to the consumer and says, look, you know, we have an ethical pension fund that invest in an ethical way, or you can get you can buy a property not through the conventional mortgage route, but you can go through a crowdfunding route where, you know, you can get 3-4 people together to put money in and own a property. So that's how we really think about our product and how we develop our products. And then coming from a tech point, I think I'll let Omar speak on that one because he's more the tech guy. But that also falls in line with our technology, and you know, can we make that accessible on the MoneeMint platform? If so, how can we make it more simple for us?
Go ahead, Omar.
Oh,
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you basically look at it as technology is basically evolving, we also are doing our best to make sure that one, we keep up with the trends as well, but at the same time understand that as the business evolves as well, is the technology ready to basically support it as well? And how we have built our processes is that we've utilized the ability of automation in a lot of our back-end systems as well, especially around what used to be once manual processes or human intervention around certain processes. We've tried to automate that as much as possible by implementing rules, engines, matrices, etc., and so forth as well to allow for that to basically happen. So, for example, as Hassan was basically saying around the contracts, the Sharia compliant contracts, etc., and so forth. Back in the day, traditionally, you would basically require some degree of human intervention to come in, basically vet certain processes as well. However, if you basically spend some time and create a rule engine slash matrix around that as well and implement it within your system as well, you can automate that entire process and allow customers to have an access. So, I mean, in terms of ethical, it will always remain ethical, whether you keep it manual or you keep it automated. The idea is, can you keep it convenient enough to basically allow that service to be availed by customers as well? Back in the day, you were able to basically process, for example, let's say just for example purposes, 10 contracts or 10 products per day. But if you basically provide that convenience as well, what used to basically have a turnaround time of days, weeks, becomes minutes now as well. And you are now able to provide a larger spectrum of customers or a larger volume of customers with that ethical product as well. And if it ends up being back in the day, it used to be quality over quantity, but now what you've done is you've merged both quality and quantity together and offered that to the general market as well. Now, with technology becoming more and more accessible, with things such as open banking, etc., and so forth, just one point on open banking being a part of ethical banking as well is that it allows globalization. It's from a tech perspective, it is globalization. It basically consolidates everything. You could be working in Dubai and you could possibly be doing something in another part of the world as well. And offering these kind of products to a global spectrum as well, it's sort of you're fast tracking the entire agenda for ethical banking as well by offering it to a larger spectrum of customers as well. And it's all got to do with one, technology, second, your regulator, etc., and so forth. And there was a very interesting question that basically just came up as well around data as well. The idea around ethical banking is how you also manage that customer's data as well. In Islamic banking, you would basically say that the customer's data is basically your amana. The customer has trusted you with that information as well, and you as an institution have an obligation to take care of that information and use and not misuse it as well. So in terms of that, you would adhere to the practices that open banking basically puts in, the necessary regulators put in, where in the US, I think they have GDPR, etc., and so forth. So you would basically adhere to these practices whereby that data is not misused as well. So you would build your technology around those frameworks as well to ensure that you keep up to that standard as well. So from a tech perspective, that's how we would basically ensure that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think there was a question asking about ethical practices extend to how you manage your users' data. So you already answered that. I don't know if you saw the question,
Yeah.
but I guess you
And
answered.
I just saw that.
I think let me just add on to that as well. So one of the things that obviously we have obviously GDPR in the UK, and obviously how effective it is in the UK, it's still a question. I mean, I get sort of spam calls every single day from companies, saying I've got an accident and stuff like that. So clearly, obviously, companies are still selling data, and that's one of the things that we really care about. And obviously, as Omar's mentioned, we don't sell your data, or we don't misuse your data in any other way, shape, or form, whether it's your account data or your transaction data, or purely simple, your name or email address. And it's not just an ethical thing, it's just pure common sense. And unfortunately, companies here in the UK and elsewhere don't actually follow that. So yeah, it does extend to sort of data and anything to do with our customers as well.
So, one of the things that ethical banking, responsible banking talks about is social responsibility. Now I know you mentioned earlier about, the sad problems in Pakistan around floods, but if you're talking about social responsibility, what kind of things are you doing in the UK? What kind of things are you thinking about in the UK around not serving the customers better and social responsibility for the environment that you're in here in the UK?
So obviously there's, we're for the environment, we're planting trees for every sign up that we have. So if you haven't signed up, make sure you sign up and plant a tree. Well, we'll plant the tree. So we're planting a tree on behalf of every sign up, which is a small sort of thing that we're doing. But one of the things that we really want to do is obviously give back to our community. And we've just appointed our head of marketing, who's doing a fantastic job. In terms of our marketing, and one of the things that we have on our agenda is actually giving back to the community that we are in, whether that's through sponsorship of a local club or working with a disadvantaged group. And I think one of the things that the finance sector lacks is obviously women in senior management team. And one of the things that we really care about is having equality and diversity across the company, not just on our management team. And when we are looking at people that we're recruiting, we don't judge anyone based upon your gender or your race and stuff. We're really open. Actually, I think there was a question that we asked yesterday to somebody, and the response was, do you have any Australians on your team? If not, we'll join. So we're really open on diversity, given back to the community, and obviously inclusion. And I think that comes down to sort of understanding what's happening in your local community, and what can you do as an organization to really give back to that community. We're not doing anything just yet, but we do have some ambitious plans as part of our giving back to the community to obviously support the less advantaged groups, and see how we can play a part in being there for them. And then obviously on a global scale, we obviously have some other ambitions, some other plans that we want to work on, and obviously giving back to Pakistan, it's just one of the things that we're doing out of the many things that we have planned. Yeah, and then obviously for our customers, obviously we want to obviously be there for our customers during hard times, and obviously we're with the cost of living crisis here in the UK, and all the news that's coming up recently. I think now it's important for banks and financial institutions to really up their game, and really care about their customers.
So for me, there's a whole set of new things that I see around making a bank appear a lot more personal and friendly. We used to have that in the UK. We used to have this bank manager. You could go into the bank, you could see and meet the bank manager. That bank manager would have a personal relationship with you. And in our today's world, it's all digital. There's the actual relationships are not really the physical relationships there. Now, younger people don't mind physical relationships, to be honest. They're all digital. They use Discord and they use TikTok and whatever. So, there is a shift in terms of how people want to have a relationship with individuals, but also companies. One of the things that I've seen, if you look at any bank or any digital service company, one of the challenges that I see is that the customer service is really poor. If you want to speak to a real person or actually get something resolved quickly, it's bloody impossible. It really is really hard to get something done. If you have a challenge or a problem or a question, to actually get something, first communicate and secondly get something done, is really hard. So how are you thinking about that? How are you thinking about that process to give that personal relationship, digital personal relationship, in this world of millennials and how they want to be dealt with? What are you thinking about on actually doing that?
So we obviously have the marketing aspect of it, and we're now implementing different strategies for marketing, and looking at what do people use most: so Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and all that, and actually implementing a marketing campaign in there. And when it comes to our customer experience, what we're really doing there is we really thought about, first of all, simplicity, and that's what we believe in. So when it came to the text that we had on our app. We really went back and we really went to the drawing board and we've really changed everything to make it more appealing, not using banking jargon, first of all, because not everyone is a banker. And we've obviously said, for example, if you're uploading a selfie, we've made it sound funny to say, we know you love yourself, why don't you take a selfie? For example, in our onboarding piece. And then when it comes to the customer service part, so one of the things that we did was when we were selecting our customer service system was really thought about the customer's experience in mind. So we've obviously got the automated system where you basically say, I need to order a new card. They can do that straight away. But then there's also that complex system where you need to speak to an agent. And if you have to speak to an agent, you can just say, I want to speak to an agent, that gets passed through. But even that agent has the information that I've never experienced before. So, for example, if it was your birthday 3 days ago, the agent will come up and say, "Oh, by the way, happy birthday." They have that data available. So why don't we make it personal? I think that's what's going to wow the customer and say, "Oh, hang on a second, the bank knows about us." It's not that we're just a customer for them; they really know about us. And if there's a customer query that they got in touch last week, a follow up say, "Oh, hey, but have we resolved your issue?" For example. So we really, really thought about our customer experience, and it's not just the customer support, but it's actually the whole journey from the point that the customer signs up to the point where they start using their card and interacting with the MoneeMint app. We really, really thought about that to make it as simple and as sleek as possible. And I've seen apps that are terribly designed. Here in the UK, there's a banking app that was it was a terrible banking app that we've seen. But again, the problem with banks over here is that even with sort of the big banks like Barclays and stuff, where they have multi-million-pound budget on customer support, it's not tailored to you. It's more like hey, what help do you need? If you need any help, fine. There's no follow-up. We really care about our customers. Look at the history, and that history that we have with the customers will actually be available to our agents. So we're not shying off from going back to the customer and saying, "Oh, hey, by the way, we know you had a problem 3 weeks ago. Has that been resolved?" And also looking at their personal information, if it's their birthday or if they're looking, if they recently got married or something like that. And we obviously, if we're aware of that, congratulate them, wish them, and make that experience more personal to them. That's how we're,
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think with all these new digital banks emerged in the last few years, I think the challenge has been for me is that it's not personal anymore. It really isn't. So how are you personalizing the experience? How are you personalizing it? How are you thinking about personalization of the products and services that you're offering? Omar, how can you manifest that into making it easy to do that? I mean, maybe you talk about that.
Very simple. 2 words: customer experience. That's it. What happens now, and I agree with you 100%. If you look at every digital bank, it's cookie cutter. It's the same thing. It's just a mix and match. One has PFM, the other doesn't have PFM. One has marketing embedded into it to make it seem more funky and fresh, while the other one basically is more functional and not so fresh. The whole idea is that, I mean, from a technology perspective, technology will remain technology. All these banks have the same technology running behind them as well. The idea is around your front end, how you would basically design an experience that would delight your customers as well, and is designed around a proposition that embeds itself in the customer's lifestyle as well. So one of the best examples I can basically say is we basically we are working for an organization here in the Middle East as well, that basically wants to offer a personalized service to the customers, something that makes them stand out. And the best example is that, how much do you like to drink your coffee? During the onboarding process, what type of coffee do you like, and how frequently do you do it, etc., and so forth, and or what are your hobbies? You know what I mean? What do you like to do, etc., and so forth. And when the onboarding is completed, they say, "Hey, guess what? If you use our application, you can get like XYZ amount of percentage off on coffee, or you get a free coffee like on a Friday." Or at the same time, you get some vouchers on a weekly, monthly basis where you can go do your hobbies, etc., and so forth. And at the same time, you can then track your progress as well. Oh, are you into fitness as well? Guess what? You can link your Fitbit with or your fitness tracking Apple Watch or whatever that is with your savings account. And if you burn an X amount of calories, then you can basically get a higher percentage or profit rate on your savings account, etc., and so forth. And then it logs your activities, etc. The whole point of it being personalized is that you should not open your bank account only to check your balance, but you should basically embed it into your lifestyle where you are doing a lot of things. Now, if you look at a lot of institutions like in Dubai, for example, there's an institution that is a financial services marketplace. I can open that application and then I can browse through the various products that are available, choose whichever one works for me, or tailor something that I basically want. It would match me with the right product, and then I can go ahead with that. The idea is that I can constantly keep opening the app and checking it rather than do it once a month or whenever I need to check my balance or transfer some money. I can use this for more than just checking my financial health. I can use it to basically determine my future in terms of my spending, etc., and so forth, how I'm spending, where I'm spending, what can I use this to basically enrich my life. So that's basically around what it can basically of how you can basically offer a personalized offering rather than your standard cookie cutter approach as well. How you have to ask yourself a question as an institution is, what can you offer to your customers that will allow this embedding into their lives.
Hassan, maybe a bit more about personalization.
So when it comes to obviously, coming on to Omar's point, open banking is one example to use that data to obviously personalize your interaction with the customer. Now, one thing that we're not doing as part of our onboarding journey is, we're not asking our customers, what coffee do you drink and stuff like that. But what we are doing is, and coming back to sort of that support element is, we're looking at the data that we have from our customers. And embedding open banking and allowing our customers to connect multiple accounts is to then provide tailored products and services to them, which they need. For example, if you pay for your utilities and your contract is expiring, or we can say, oh hey, by the way, if you switch your utility provider from the MoneeMint app, you'll save X amount compared to what you were paying before. And the customer will be like, oh, hang on a second, this, the bank knows about us. It's more that personal interaction, and personal interaction doesn't mean always where a member of staff is talking to that customer. Personal interaction is also through the products and services you're offering, how well you know that customer, and also then obviously you come from the interaction point of view. It's okay, how do you interact with that customer, and what do you talk to them about? And one of the things that I've seen with all the neobanks that I use pretty much all of them, and it's all pretty much the same. There's no personalized experience. No one stands out from an experience point of view. Yes, every bank or every neobank has its own set of cool features, but when I talk about personalization, what I want from a bank is, I want the bank to really understand me and offer me the right products and services that I need, rather than having a bunch of products on a marketplace that just doesn't work for our customers. And that's what we're really working on. And we're not implementing every single product that we can possibly think about. We're really thinking about what do our customers want, and then taking it from there.
So there's an interesting question that's come in, talking about the non-personalized service. So the question is asking, if you want to opt out from having a personalized service because people are very privacy conscious. What's your view on that? And would you allow? Are you allowing that?
So, James, thanks for that question. So there's two elements of it. One is obviously the data that we hold on you. So the core data that we have is obviously your name, your address, your date of birth as part of that onboarding journey. Unfortunately, we cannot remove that data for compliance reasons. So that data we'll obviously have. However, if you don't want our support agents to say, oh, by the way, happy birthday and stuff, that's your personal choice. We can obviously have that in there and say, okay, fine, this customer doesn't want to be contacted on a personal level. However, when it comes down to any other, for example, open banking, if you don't want MoneeMint to use your data as part of that, we will respect that. So it's not a one-stop thing where it just comes in and says, it's not just one thing around that. It's we're really, really careful with how we deal with customer data, and also your preference. If you don't want it to be personalized, it is up to you. However, obviously we do encourage it to be personalized experience so that you get the best possible experience from the MoneeMint team. And then from a tech point, I think Omar can speak from that angle, but I can speak from sort of operational standards.
Sorry, Hassan, can you just repeat that? I just lost the connection for a second.
No, I was just talking about privacy, whether you can. So one of the things about one end is personalization, having a personalized experience. The other end is that the customer doesn't want to have any personalization and want to have high level of privacy where you're just providing the core, in quotes, vanilla service.
Right. So if you think about it, this is the information that we were basically talking about in terms of crafting that personal experience for you as well. That was during the onboarding process. You can literally just click the skip button and it'll basically just remove that entire element of personalization. To give you a little bit more comfort, I would not collect your data if you don't want me to collect your data around personalization. As simple as that. If it's not that we're going to still ask you those questions and not use it, but we would just skip the whole process altogether, giving you that comfort that we as a financial services organization are not asking you to be obligated to present us that data so we can personalize it for you.
I mean, there's also one more part of that is obviously our user-specific communication. So, for example, if you are saving for a deposit to buy a house, we have that option where we can send you insights and say, oh, hey, by the way, buying deposit another £10 into to get closer to your to your savings goal, for example, and that's what our personalization means. And obviously, if you're not happy with that, or you don't want us to send that notification, we can do that for you. But it defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing and what we're building, a personalized experience. And I think it's always best practice for the end customer to obviously get that personalized experience rather than sort of opting out of that. I hope that answers your question, James.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of you on the session. I'd like to really open it up to anybody watching this. Any questions you've got, opportunity. We've got a few minutes left. Any
feel
further
free
questions?
You can unmute yourself as well. You can unmute yourself as well if you prefer to talk. Or
you're welcome to. Yes, you're welcome to unmute and talk, or ask any more questions that you have. It'll be great to get more questions from the audience. Apart from James, James, whoever you are, thank you very much for being controversial. So, no more questions. I think we're coming to the end of the session. I think one of the things that's been really good in digitizing banking and ethical banking and what's happening there is the fact that you're building a service which, I'm a digital guy. I like digital stuff. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have a conversation with anybody. I rarely talk to anybody in a bank because I don't need to. But I think
you and I are the same.
Yeah, but the thing for me is, I still, in my bank accounts, I still don't get that feeling that I am an individual. I don't get that feeling from anybody on any bank, any I won't say any service that I use these days. And I'd love to get a final, just a final summary of how you're going to make that experience better. And we have a question, so want to answer that question, and we can go to the next question that somebody's come up.
So the question is from Sharon. As a customer, oh, sorry, did you want to continue, or should we?
You go ahead. Go on. You can answer that question if you want. If you don't want to answer the other one, but go ahead. Go on. So answer the question.
I can only see one question. So So the question is, as a customer, will I earn rewards? Yes. So we are building a lifestyle-based marketplace which has loyalty points, rewards, exclusive discounts from retailers and offers, and the only way we can obviously offer that reward and service is obviously by understanding exactly what it is that you guys are shopping at. What's the most frequent place that you shop at. For example, if you go buy a £1.50, I'm sure it's £1.50 nowadays, £1.50 bottle of milk, we can say, oh, hey, by the way, you can now get this for £1.20 by using the MoneeMint app. So yeah, there is that option where we are building out a rewards and a loyalty platform within the MoneeMint app. And I think me and Omar, we really spoke about this over the past in terms of how can we offer that to our customers. So yeah, it will be available. I think there is another question, but I can't see it.
No, that's it. There's only one more question. Let me just check the other Q&A side. No, there's only one more question. So,
okay.
Cool. I think we're coming to the end. I'd love to get Omar just from you, on a summary of your thoughts around global banking. Oh, there's another question's come up, but let me. Oh, there we go. Sylvia is asking a question about for you, Hassan, around are your services tailored to only Islamic banking?
So very good question, and I get asked this question pretty much every day. No, we are not only targeted to the Muslim community. We are open to everyone. Hence why, if you go onto our social media and our website, you'll see we talk about ethical banking and not so much Islamic banking. Now, for all of you who understand Islamic banking, all of our products we will be Sharia certified. And we will be working with a Sharia scholar to make sure that they are certified products. But again, it's open to everyone and anyone, and that was one of the reasons why actually we went through a rebrand. And we were called Omar Finance before, and really talking about Islamic banking and banking the halal way. And I'm sure Alpesh, you probably know when I was working with you, I was working with this as we go along. We had this conversation where someone came up to me and said, oh, by the way, halal means killing animals. And it took me about 20 minutes, half an hour to talk to him about it, but he was not convinced. So myself and Omar and his team, we went back to the drawing board. We've done a complete rebrand, complete brand new marketing message to really understand and offer that product. And actually, one of the things that I want to say over here is on our wait list that we have of over 23,000 people is, we've got just about a 50-50 split between Muslims and non-Muslims. So the products that we are offering are open to anyone. And also one of the Islamic banks in the UK, so the only retail high street Islamic bank, Al Rayan Bank, they state on their annual reports that just under 50% of their customers are actually non-Muslims. So that means that obviously, there is a demand for Islamic banking products and ethical banking products. So yeah, we're open to everyone and anyone. So if you haven't signed up to our wait list, head over to our website.
Fantastic. Well, I think we've run out of time. Thank you both for participating, and thank you everybody for attending. Please make your comments and continue the conversation on LinkedIn. And it'll be great to get your further questions. And I'm sure Hassan and Omar and I'm here as well if you want to ask me questions. Obviously, I wasn't asking questions today. Answering questions. I was only asking them, which is great for me. We thank you very much and look forward to continuing the conversation on social media. Thank you very much for attending, everybody, and see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome. Take care, guys.